For decades, American car enthusiasts had to watch in envy as Japanese enthusiasts told us all about the Honda Civic Type R, this amazing front-wheel drive hot hatch of legend. Now, we got the Civic Si, which was a nice sporty car, but we never got the Type R until 2017, that is, when Honda finally brought it stateside with the 10th generation Civic. Now, for 2020 model year, Honda has made a number of improvements to the Type R. They've listened to your guys' suggestions, making this car a lot better, including a new color that you may have noticed behind me. It's called Boost Blue. I absolutely love it. I'm glad Honda sent me a press car in this color, and I'm going to show you what the 2020 Civic Type R is all about. Now let's start with the exterior, where the 10th generation Honda Civic is already an outrageous looking car, but I think the Type R might be the most aggressive car on sale today, and this new Boost Blue color certainly doesn't tone it down at all. This car almost looks like a cartoon character, which is why I'm wearing Pokemon socks today, although to be honest, I think I might have chose the wrong franchise. This car looks more like it should transform and throw a tanker truck at Megatron than be involved in a Pokemon fight. But let's start with the front end, where we've got a very aggressive look here. We've got our aggressive front splitter. We've got tons of red accents, including our red Honda badge, which is now a little bit smaller. And you may not notice, because even if you have this car right up next to a 2019 or 2018 or 2017 model, you might not be able to tell all of the little changes that Honda has made here. This grille opening is actually 13% larger now to allow for better cooling, and Honda has fettled the whole front end, making the spoiler just a little bit more aggressive for aerodynamics as to make up for the larger grille opening. That's going to help you with cooling, because of course these Type Rs did overheat a little bit when they were out on the racetrack. This should help it a little bit in the 2020 model year. Coming around the side, we still have our massive 20-inch black wheels with a 4-piston Brembo brake caliper up front, but now the rotors are a 2-piece design. That's going to help keep them a little bit cooler as well. It also saves about 2 pounds, I believe, off of the unsprung weight of this car, so that's good as well. Coming around the side, we have this whole side skirt finished in like that faux carbon fiber that comes all the way down the back of the car. Now that's red no matter what color you get the Civic Type R in, so the blue and red is a bit Superman-y combination to me, but you might really like it. I wish that you could get some of these accents in blue, including the seats, but it is a really cool looking, outrageous design. Now, of course, this is the Civic Type R. We have this massive rear wing. Is it strictly necessary? Probably not. Could Honda tone this down and sell a whole lot more of these cars? Sure, but they know who's going to want this car, so they decided to make it outrageous as possible. We've got these air streaks up here as well, and we've got our tri-tip exhaust down here that looks absolutely great, but once we get into the car and drive it, we're going to hear that these exhaust tips are kind of just for show. They don't actually sound that good. And of course, we have our Type R badge letting us know that we have the fastest Civic model available. All right, so now that we've checked out the exterior of the Civic Type R, let's hop inside, where things are mostly the same, but Honda has changed a few things here for the 2020 model year, so I'm going to show you that. If you want a deeper dive on the Civic's interior, be sure to go check out the review of the 2020 Civic Si that we did, where we go a little bit more into the technology, like the head unit and stuff like that, because pretty much the basics here look like the Si. We've got the faux carbon fiber, the red accents, things like that, but there are a few Type R special items, including these awesome Type R racing seats. They hug you in tremendously. Now the Si gets really nice seats as well, but these are absolutely fantastic. They're finished in a combination of cloth and like this very nice soft faux Alcantara. Now you cannot pick any other colors besides red for this. I would have liked to see Honda offer blue ones to match the blue exterior. I know they used to do that on Integra Type Rs in the past. Speaking of Integra Type Rs, we have a new metal shifter design. Now the old one also had a metal ball, but this one is sort of more tall. It's shaped just like a 1998 model year Type R, and it has just a little bit of a different weighting counterbalance, gives it this really nice throw. I love Honda shifters. They do this better than almost anybody else in the business. We also have our little Type R plate down here telling us the build number of this one. We also have our electronic parking brake, which is not my favorite favorite feature. I'd prefer a manual one. And if you try to put this down without your foot on the brake,
please depress the brake pedal to release the parking brake.
You get the nice Honda lady who tells you how to properly put it down, although you do get brake hold with that, making driving a manual transmission just a little bit easier. We also have our drive mode controller here. Now, this is specific to the Type R. It defaults to normal mode, but I have it right now in its comfort mode. That's going to change up our gauges just a little bit. Now, comfort mode is going to make the suspension just a little bit softer, so if you're driving over rough roads, you're going to want to put it in comfort, because this is, of course, a stiffer car than something like an SI or a normal Civic. Sport mode is your default. Very fun to drive in sport mode. That's going to activate the rev match shifting. So this car does rev match automatically when you downshift. And then if I put it into plus R mode, I'm going to get that cool red light that we got from sport mode in the SI. The gauges all glow red, and that's going to make this thing as sharp as possible. New for 2020, we have active sound control. So this engine is a absolute stud, but when you hear it out on the road, it's kind of a dud. It doesn't sound that good. I'm going to go ahead and rev it a little bit. It just doesn't make a great noise, but Honda has piped in a little bit of engine noise through the speakers to at least make it sound better in here. Now, the other things they've added for 2020 include this Alcantara wrapped steering wheel. It's black with a little bit of red here. It looks fantastic, but that's because it's new. I have a feeling that after 10 years or so, this is going to look terrible, and you're probably going to want to refinish this in leather. The other thing that we get on a Type R that you don't get on any other Civic, red seat belts, and those are pretty cool. Coming around to the back, the Civic Type R is available only as a hatchback, which means the legroom isn't going to be quite as good as the SI, which is a sedan. The Civic hatchback offers 35.9 inches of legroom. The sedan offers 37.4. So if you're interested in rear passenger space, the Civic SI sedan is actually going to be the better option. The Type R specifically is a little bit less practical as well, because here where you usually would have a middle seat, you just have cup holders. Now, where the Civic Type R makes that up is in the trunk. The Type R might not be as good for passenger hauling, but in terms of cargo, it is excellent. The Civic hatchback offers about 26 cubic feet of storage. You have this really cool side opening cover here that's removable altogether. And if you fold down the seats, that's gonna open up to about 46 cubic feet of room. Huge amount of space back here. The Civic sedan only offers about 15.1 cubic feet. So if you're interested in hauling big items, the Type R is a great practical option. All right, so time to see how the Honda Civic Type R feels out on the road, because that's why you're gonna buy a car like this, obviously, is because of the performance. Let's start by doing a launch, although that's not this car's forte. You can get from 0 to 60 in about 5 seconds. If you're a really good driver, you might crack 5. So let's go ahead and give it a launch. Second is a little hard to hit sometimes, but I got it there. It gives you a little beep to let you know when to shift. Oh, yes, and then it pulls and pulls. So this car is front-wheel drive only. There's no all-wheel drive added to it. So it means that launching is not the best thing that this car is for. You're not going to impress people too much with how this car gets off the line, but this 2-liter turbocharged VTEC engine is an absolute marvel. It produces 306 horsepower, which is more than enough, with 295 pound-feet of torque, and unlike the Civic SI, which only revs to about 6,000 and doesn't have VTEC, this VTEC motor revs to 7,000, which is great. It's also got 23.2 PSI being run through it, so that helps a lot as well. Really makes the throttle just super sharp, especially in R+ mode. You're gonna have access to power pretty much whenever you want. Instant throttle accents, even if you're in too high of a gear. Now we've got a 6-speed manual, your only transmission option. I'm so happy that Honda doesn't offer an automatic on this, because this car is just so great. Oh, that steering is just so sharp. I love rowing the gears. I've got the auto rev match function on, which is on in sport and the plus R modes. It actually shuts off in comfort mode, but I'm pretty decent at rev matching, but let's go ahead and go for one now. I'm gonna not rev match it myself. Oh man, it does it so well on its own that it almost makes me not like want to rev match. And the transmission itself, I explained on the inside, is just so slick. I love just rowing through the gears. I love the new brake calipers. We've got 4 piston Brembos up front, so when we slam on the brakes here we go. Nice braking. So the brakes would overheat a little bit on last year's model, but Honda says that that new 2-piece design is going to help cool the brakes a little bit better on this one. They've also added the active sound control, which you're going to be hearing. So let's go ahead and give it some gas again. We're going to start to hear that the engine itself is only piped in. Hear it? The one thing I think this car does not do well. It's sharp as a tack, the steering is amazing, but the engine sound just isn't there. I'm gonna go ahead and now take it out of Sport Plus and into comfort mode because the road we're on is a little bumpy now. And I'm gonna show you what it's like accelerating in comfort mode now. Here we go. Yeah, it just doesn't make really a lot of noise inside here. You really don't hear it out on the outside. Honda, I think this is the one thing you could really improve on in this car, because the Hyundai Veloster N, this car's chief competitor right now, is a lot better sounding. That thing sounds like an angry rally car. And I want to talk about the differences between the drive modes here, because they are massive. It's almost as if like you feel the car in comfort mode soften up so much. So it's like, imagine you have your arm and you tighten it. You've got your arm as tight as possible. You're gonna feel every bump and it's gonna rebound off your arm. Now if I lax up my arm, now everything's gonna kind of flow through it a little better. And that's really how this car feels. It is stiffly sprung. It's a lot stiffer than an SI. It's stiffer than a regular Civic, but it's daily drivable. This car isn't gonna punish you. It may look like a race car on the outside, but it still really feels like a Civic in here. And that's because of the adaptive dampers. Now, Honda has adjusted those so they now respond 10 times faster than before. That's not only gonna help with the handling, but it's also gonna help with the ride. It's gonna make it a lot more comfortable in here. This is a very comfortable car after all. And if you drive this car normally, you can get pretty good fuel economy. It's rated at 22 mpg in the city, 28 on the highway, about 25 combined. Now, I've been absolutely hammering this thing because of how fun it is. I've been averaging about 18, 19, but when I got it on the highway, you can easily get over 30 mpg in this car. Now, it is a little bit louder than a standard Civic. You know, we've got the wing, we've got the more aggressive tires and all of that, but it is still a comfortable car that I feel like you could get in every day and drive. We've got adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, all of that stuff is standard. The only thing they haven't added is blind spot monitoring and that cool camera system they do. Although Honda shaved all this weight off this car, they've cut grams off the shifter and the brakes and things like that to get this car down to just 3,121 pounds. I feel like adding a camera on the side mirror would have probably thrown off a lot of that weight. So the Civic Type R, man, it's just so sharp. If you haven't driven this car, I don't really want you to comment and say, oh, but it's front wheel drive only. You really need to drive it, because I've never driven such a precision machine with such delicate steering, with such amazing turn in that's so sharp and doesn't body roll on the throttle. This car doesn't need all-wheel drive. It would have pushed the weight up too much. It's great front wheel drive and all. So that was the 2020 Honda Civic Type R. Pricing for this touring trim, that's the only one available, starts at just under $37,000, and there aren't really any options other than a few dealer add-ons that you can equip on top of it. But good luck getting one for $37,000. Honda only makes a few thousand of these a year, and they sell every one that they make. Now, Honda could easily sell more of these if they toned down the styling a little bit, maybe offered like a dual clutch automatic or something like that to cater to more people, but Honda chooses not to because they're smart. They'd rather sell every every single one they make at an increased price, and that keeps used owners happy because when they go to sell this car, they're not losing thousands of dollars. They're keeping their value really well. So if you do manage to find one of these at or near MSRP, I highly suggest you buy it. It's going to be a great value. When you go to sell it, you're not going to lose much on depreciation. This is a car that I absolutely love. It's probably the best front-wheel drive car I've ever driven, and there's no reason why I wouldn't recommend it. And it is so much more car than a Civic Si that I'm glad Honda finally sells it in the United States. We really hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you want more information on the 2020 Honda Civic Type R, there's a link in the description below. That'll take you over to CarBuzz.com where you can learn more about this car and read our full written review. And as always, be sure to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell to be alerted of our latest videos. That's how you can really help out our channel and recommend us to your friends. I hope you've enjoyed this video. See you next time.